Today, we are cracking the code on what it really takes to land a job at a top tech company. We're going to follow one engineer's incredible journey into Grab, the tech giant, and pull apart the exact strategies that got him that offer. Let's dive right in.
You know the advice everyone gives, right? Grind leak code, solve hundreds of problems, basically become a puzzle-solving machine. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the real key isn't just about solving abstract puzzles, but about proving you can actually build things?
And this is where Sahariar Alam Khandoker comes in. He's an engineer who kind of went against the grain. His story is all about how focusing on building real, actual systems gave him this massive edge, even though he didn't come from that typical competitive coding background.
So what really makes Sahariar's approach so different? Well, it all goes back to a choice he made in university, a choice that pretty much set the stage for his entire career.
This slide just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the traditional path, all about competitive programming, super abstract puzzles. But on the other side, you see Sahariar's path. He chose to build real systems, to get his hands dirty with the kind of work he was actually going to face in a job.
And you know what? That focus totally paid off. Today, he's a senior software engineer at Grab, with over 7 years under his belt working on complex distributed systems. But here's the kicker. He's the first to admit that data structures and algorithms, DSA, wasn't his strong suit at the beginning. And that's a really important piece of this puzzle. So how did he bridge that gap and land the job? Well, Grab's interview process was basically a 5-stage gauntlet. It was designed to test every single part of his engineering skill set. Let's walk through it. Okay, here's the roadmap. It all started with a pretty standard recruiter screening. Then came the two big technical hurdles, the DSA round and the system design round. After that, a behavioral interview, and then finally, the offer discussion. We're going to really dig into how he tackled these, especially those technical rounds.
All right, now we're getting to the heart of it. For so many engineers, these two interviews, DSA and system design, they feel like the final bosses, right? Sahariar had to face them both. One where he was kind of starting from behind, and another where he was already a pro.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Seriously, especially for someone like Sahariar, who knew DSA wasn't his natural strength. The thought of just grinding through thousands of random problems is exhausting. But he figured out a much, much smarter way to do it.
This was it. This was his big aha moment. He realized it wasn't about the number of problems you solve, it's about recognizing the patterns behind them. Think about it. Once you get a pattern like sliding window, you can solve a whole bunch of related problems. You're not starting from scratch every single time. So how did he learn these patterns? This was his go-to toolkit. His #1 top-tier recommendation is NeetCode 150, because it's built specifically around this pattern-based approach. The big lesson here isn't just the list, it's that finding a structured, pattern-focused guide is your best weapon. So after slaying the DSA dragon with pattern recognition, he had to switch gears completely for the system design interview. And as you can see, the focus shifts from abstract patterns to something much more tangible, practical, real-world trade-offs. This was his home turf. His strategy here was just pure, simple pragmatism. He used his years of actual experience. Instead of designing some massive, overly complex system right away, he started small and then added layers of complexity, explaining why every step of the way. He'd talk about trade-offs, like, okay, we could use a NoSQL database here for scalability, but we have to be okay with weaker consistency. It was that kind of grounded, clear thinking that made him stand out, not just a bunch of buzzwords. So he nailed the 2 huge technical rounds. You'd think the hardest part was over, right? Nope. For Sahariar, the toughest challenge was still ahead. And believe it or not, it had nothing to do with code. Yeah, you heard that right. Sahariar said the behavioral interview was the hardest part of the whole process. And why? Well, because there's no right answer. There's no algorithm to memorize. It's just a test of who you are and how you work with other people. His advice for this stage is so simple, but so many people miss it. Just be authentic. The goal isn't to spit out some perfect, rehearsed answer you think they want to hear. It's about giving a real response that shows them who you actually are as a teammate and a problem solver. Okay, so after running that whole gauntlet, what's the playbook we can actually use? Sahariar's entire experience really boils down to 4 key rules for anyone trying to do the same thing.
First up, the absolute foundation.
It's about consistency over just raw intensity. Don't try to cram it all in at the last minute, and please don't just grind problems randomly. Focus your energy on really mastering those core patterns. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Second,
Think about the big picture.
Walk into that room and treat it like a real design session with a coworker. Start simple, explain why you're making certain decisions, and talk openly about the trade-offs. Show them how you think. I promise, practicality beats buzzwords every single time.
Third, you've got to prepare for the performance itself. Look, you can know all the theory in the world, but performing when the pressure is on, that's a totally different skill. Mock interviews are like sparring before a big fight. They build that muscle memory and confidence so you don't freeze up on the big day.
And finally, we have the golden rule that ties it all together.
This is the one thing that connects every single stage. Whether you're explaining a bit of code, defending a system architecture, or just talking about a past project, how clearly you communicate your thought process can be the single thing that sets you apart from everyone else. So there you have it, a real playbook from a real engineer who cracked the code his own way. And it proves it's not always about being the fastest puzzle solver. It's about smart prep, practical thinking, and just being a good communicator. So now that you've got the playbook, which pattern are you going to master first?